Hey there, welcome to What's My Pipeline. Today it's just me, unless he comes later, my colleague Brett, but we do have a special guest. Our first guest, Laura Patterson. Welcome to the show.
Hello, Paul. Thank you for having me.
Sure. So do you like this or this? How about this? This?
Okay, sure. Whatever
Okay.
makes you happy.
Okay. Close, far, right? That's because we're on StreamYard. We have options.
Cool.
So anyway, lots of options. We can even share screens, share slides. Um,
This is my first experience with StreamYard.
okay, so we're just talking today, everybody. But we are talking about you. And I when I look aside, I'm not just looking at Laura. I'm reading at the same time. Okay. Okay. So we're multitasking in this world. Okay. Phones
Okay.
on silent. But so you are, another a marketing company like I am. VisionEdge Marketing. VisionEdge. You co-founded it in 1999. Um, you've working collaboratively with executive teams. You've helped more than 250 B2B companies accelerate profitable growth, as compared to non-profitable growth. That's what I'm
Well,
trying to
you
wonder.
can have non-profitable growth, believe me.
Okay. All right. I just, I play with phrases and words, so,
Yes.
like, anyway, you're a sought after speaker. You're an author. Did not know that. A thought leader in the areas of growth strategy, customer centricity. We'll talk about that. Performance management, operational excellence. Are you the queen of metrics? Really, the queen of metrics? That's what you wrote.
I don't know if I'm the
Oh,
queen, but it's certainly a passion of our company and a specialty.
same here, and you're humble. So, see, that's why we're doing a show here. We laugh, but we give insights. So, and that's what we're going to do today. Kind of like a good conversation about this concept of customer centricity, right?
Yes.
Right? Like, wait, nobody talks about that. What is that? Like, is it hard to understand? Like, how do you bring that up? Because again, you're analytical and you study clients and their problems, but what is this, what you call customer effort score, customer centricity concept?
Okay, that's a great question. You know, it's a real simple way to think about customer centricity, and that we recommend that people think about it from this perspective. How well do you put every decision that you make with your customer at the center of that decision? So people in business make decisions all day long, and we always ask them, so in every decision that you're making, is the customer at the center of that decision? And that's really a great way to think about it. So are your processes designed with that in mind? All of those things that are, as a business is running, are the purpose of a business, according to Peter Drucker, is to create a customer, right? And so the customer should be at the center of every decision.
Or the potential customer, the prospect, right?
Well, everything you're doing, whether it's prospective customers or existing customers, should, but they're both clearly very important. And in the world of marketing, our job is to find, acquire, keep, and grow the value of customers. So we need to be thinking about both the prospective and existing customers.
Yeah. You bring up a good point, really. It's funny, first sidebar of the day is, is when I talk to clients and things like that, and you probably relate to it in this concept, right? Of, salespeople are focused on net new. I mean, they shouldn't be, right? But they are. It's just, new client, marketing, get new clients, right? But it's those existing ones, right, that you have to nurture, see how it's going. You got to keep the sale going because they're referrals, that, especially in the SaaS world, you want to keep them and things like that, right? So eventually, you want to have them give reviews and case studies. So anyway, people forget about the customer success component to, I guess, growth, right? Don't you think?
Well, I think if companies are smart enough to realize that keeping a customer is more cost effective than having a revolving door of customers, right? Churn is not a good thing. Losing customers or customers that defect or don't become advocates. To your point, if you can keep a customer and grow the share of wallet you have, you're improving your customer lifetime value, which is
Right.
really important. So there's lots of good reasons to be focusing on keeping good customers.
Right. Right. For sure. You can't forget that part. That's for sure. Um, I've heard of this category of NPS. Explain that. I mean, where does that fit in? Do you look at that as well with, I mean, again, we're talking about customer focused marketing and messaging probably, but but how does this all work together in the big picture for growth and things like that?
Okay, that's a really good question. So maybe wind back just for a moment.
Yeah, sure.
You brought up a really good comment about customer experience and customer effort. So Dimension Data, they have a global customer experience study they do pretty regularly.
Oh, yeah.
They found that when you have good customer experience, it can drive revenue by as much as 84%. So customer experience is a pretty big deal. And when you think about customer experience, which is pretty much top of mind right now from almost everybody in the C-suite, and we have all kinds of titles out there around customer success, chief customer
Right. We
officers,
just talked about that. Yeah.
lots and lots. The Super Office survey last year said that customer experience is like a top priority for almost every organization. So this is something that people are thinking about. And they find that those companies that focus on customer experience, they're able to recruit, retain, and grow the value of those customers, which gives them a competitive advantage. And to your point earlier, it also gives them higher profits and long-term sustainable growth. So you just brought up, how do you measure that? And you brought up NPS, which is an interesting measure. So the Net Promoter Score, it looks at your organization's overall relationship with your customers. And there are good things and bad things about the NPS score, and there's some complexity to doing it well. And it has a tendency to have some challenges because the people that are not promoters and are not detractors kind of get lost when you're doing the analysis. So customer effort is a very different kind of score, because what it is really looking at is how easy or hard are you to do business with. Every interaction that a customer has with you, from the moment they visit your website, download content, use your chat, send you an email, try to use your online help, go to customer support, implementation, onboarding your product, whatever it might be, how hard or easy are all those interactions? And that's really what customer effort attempts to measure.
It's all well and good, right? My question is, if you're C-suite, you're thinking about so many things going on at your company, the sales efforts and lead generation and marketing and messaging and all this and all that. Is it too much? Like, is this like, I know you promote it, of course, but like if you said, like, why do you need to pay attention to this with everything else that you're doing on your plate?
Well, because you want to, it certainly would be very frustrating to have people who are prospective customers, to our earlier point, who never become a customer because becoming a customer is too hard, right? Just navigating the website was just too hard. Trying to get someone to help them was just too hard. Trying to download some content was just too hard. And it's certainly, from the other side, when we're talking about that it's more cost effective to keep a customer and to grow the value of that customer, if that's really hard, you're really hard, to do business with, hard to get support or service when you have a product, the service quality challenges, right? So the ease makes a difference in terms of the likelihood of improving, like, your win-loss ratio. So if you want to have a good win-loss ratio, which is pretty important, and you want to see higher conversion through the customer buying journey, then you should really care about customer effort.
Yeah, for sure. Now, is there a ranking that, like a rating, and what is that? And is it like something you created, or is it like a national thing that you just kind of promote like this? We
No,
talked about this scale thing that we talked about, and like what does that mean?
so customer effort's not our thing. It's out there in the public domain, and there are lots of people who have talked about customer effort. I don't know how many people actually are tracking and measuring it, and it's not that hard to measure. It's you can look at overall customer effort, and you can look at it within a specific customer, and it's essentially using a very similar approach of use a 10-point scale. We're very big fans of 10-point scales. And you just ask customers to give you a very simple answer for every interaction, on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being it was extremely easy, and 1 was being it was extremely hard. How hard or easy was it, to do X, whatever X was. You can even, do it online. You can do them through your phone system. You can do it in your chat, right? It's not really about asking whether they were satisfied. It's asking about ease. And that is a different kind of measure than were you satisfied with today's interaction, or were you satisfied with the support that you got? This is really about ease. So it's a very different kind of question, and it gives you a little bit more insight than just satisfaction. Because people could say, yeah, I'm satisfied. I got my problem solved, but it might have been really hard. So if you get less than a 6 or less, think about it like, getting a score on anything. 60 out of 100, 6 out of 10 is not a very good score. So if it's any less than 6 or less, then you probably want to take a look at those interactions and see what could you do to make them easier.
And there are recommendations you give, like in your analysis? I mean, your reporting, or like, how do you say, we don't have to get a 10, but how do we get to be an 8? What's missing? Like, where do we prioritize?
Well, so the first thing would be, as you're looking at all those interactions and you're getting that effort score, those interactions that are really important to the conversion rate, that have really low scores, I would put them at the top of my list of things to try and address as quickly as possible. And it's like anything else. I'm sure, Paul, when you're working with your clients, you have to look at how, is this something we can do quickly, or is this a really long time? Is this something we can do affordably, or is this going to be really expensive? Is this something that's going to have high impact, or is it going to be low impact? So you want to look at those interactions that off the bat are having high impact, you can do relatively quickly, and won't break the bank. And so, if you can think about it in those terms, it might be relatively easy to pick out which ones are the most important.
Well, let me give you an example. And, this kind of relates, maybe I'm a little off, but I'm also probably a little on. A client example, okay, if you don't mind. So we're doing like some actually Google ad campaigns, right? And we noticed that, here's an example. Again, it may or may not be relevant, but if I said to you, our click-through rates on mobile are through the roof, but our conversions suck, right? Now you can, but the desktop is just fine, right? Get good cost per customer acquisition, cost per sale, all those things. But people do mobile a lot. They research and may come back later to their computers and things like that. But is there do you look at devices and conversion rates? Like, you might say, like, well, you have an online catalog. It's really hard to look at on a phone. Maybe there's another way to make it easy for someone. Maybe just even have like a big section said, tell us what you need and we'll find it for you, or something, right? Like, is that a pop-up or something, whether you like them or not? But you know what I mean? Like some other mechanism than just a mobilized website with the same features. But, again, mobile, if like we want to get mobile quotes better, the same keywords, right? But something is stopping somebody. I don't know. What are your thoughts?
I think that's a great example. I think I think you do get it. So you can, find out what device people are using, and find out how hard or easy was it using your mobile device to access our catalog, right? So you came to our catalog. If you're on a mobile device, how hard or easy was it? If you're on a computer, a desktop device, how hard or easy was it? Absolutely. You're hitting the nail on the head. And it's just one example of being customer centric, and a relatively simple thing that any company of any size can do. NPS gets pretty complicated. It can be much harder to do for just even smaller companies. But understanding where it's hard for a customer to move forward in their buying decision, that's important for any company.
Right. Let me ask you one more thing. Well, a few more things,
Sure.
but going back to that. So, oh, I was trying to get into this. Maybe I lost my train of thought for a minute, but that's okay. I'll ask you another question. I'm sure it'll come back.
Okay.
But no, these are all good things. Oh, you know what it was? It's basically saying, where customer centricity and these ease of use, customer experience strategies. Obviously you have to look up mobile and desktop because it's totally different, right? And when we talk about responsive web design, it's like the same thing, but sometimes you may have to have a feature to help mobile if you want to improve your mobile experience, right? So, it's not an easy thing to do, right? You kind of people take it for granted, I think, right? But like I said, though, if most people are using mobile to search or read newsletters and stuff or e-guides and things, and, there's certain, it's like e-commerce in a way. I'll put it in my cart, but the old days was now I'll go back to my computer and buy it, right? So anyway, I digress. So.
No, I think you're bringing up a really good point. And so I think we're saying some very similar things. You want whatever vehicle a customer, prospective or existing customer, is using, whether that's whatever channel they're using, you want whatever interaction they're having with that channel to be easy.
Yeah. And that's why chat is so big. And we talked about it earlier. I was, people are just used to that right now, whether it doesn't have to be live. People used to say like, oh, do we have to man it all the time? No. But you can ask, it's almost like a mini FAQ, right? If your pricing is not on your website, probably one of the questions you're going to get is how much it costs, right? So, we'll help you with that. We'll be happy to connect with you with one of our, whatever, right? But that's an example, I guess you might look at even how intuitive the chatbot is, right?
Well, again, if people are using it, was it hard or easy to use it? Did they, not just were they satisfied with the information, but how hard or easy was it? I'm sure you've used a lot of chats, and I have too. And some are way better than others, and some are frustrating because you really do need to talk to somebody, and they want to keep you away from talking from somebody. So that's making it hard.
Yeah. Well, we talked about retention and things like that, and I guess one thing is to improve this customer score, right? But the other hand, if it's not as good, can you really lose customers that way? Because of that, like explain that. Like, is it
Oh yes, people can lose customers because it's hard, especially early on. Once they, depending on what the product or solution is, and they become a customer, and if using the solution or product is hard, but there's no better alternative, or does something that you needed to do that you can't get done another way, you might be willing to put up with hard. But at the front end, you're less inclined to put up with hard, right? And if you have, depending on what the relationship is like, so if you're a services firm and some things are easier than other things with the services firm, or some other kind of interactions, then you might be, again, willing to stick it out. But if it's really hard at the beginning, you're probably, less inclined to get all the way through.
Mm-hmm. Now, just jumping ahead, we always talk about, in this show, marketing and sales alignment, right?
Yeah.
And now, so I don't know if this is like you look at things, is it more of a marketing thing, a sales thing? But tell me about how this customer centric, can't think of the phrase, customer effort score. What's it called again?
Well, we were talking about the customer effort score, which is part of really improving the customer experience.
Okay, right.
Customer experience is certainly a
It's
component of being a customer-centric organization.
right.
So customer centricity is about the culture of your company.
That's the highest level, right?
At
And
the
then the
highest
score
level,
is okay, right?
where do customers fall into the decisions that you make? If you had to make a decision today about X, and it wouldn't necessarily be in the best interest of your customers, would you still do it? Customer-centric companies would maybe be less inclined to do that.
Right.
So, for example, let's say you have challenges with your supply chain and you can't get certain products to your customers. How do you handle that and make it be something that will work and for your customers and the decisions that you're going to make? So let me give you just a fun example.
Okay. We're here for fun.
So. Yeah, just a fun example. So I used to go to this coffee shop, not Starbucks, a local coffee shop. And I don't have regular milk in my coffee. I do put some alternatives in my coffee, like it could be almond milk or more likely almond milk than soy milk or some other milk alternative. And I'm at this coffee shop, and this coffee shop is essentially across the street or down in the same shopping center as a major grocery store. And as I'm going to order my coffee, they tell me they don't have that milk alternative, right? And I'm thinking to myself, but the grocery store is just 50 paces away. Maybe you could send someone to buy an alternative milk so you can give it to your customers. Well, we can't do that because we buy our alternative milk from XYZ supplier and we haven't received our supply today. So a customer-centric coffee shop would have said, we have customers that like alternative milk and our milk has not come in. Let's go down to the grocery store, buy a couple cartons so we can have this milk for our customers. We'll worry about that later. That would be an example of a customer-centric coffee shop. All right. And they couldn't do that. And it became such a problem for them that one time I actually went to the store, bought what it was I wanted, and I left my carton with them for other customers. And eventually I stopped going there. What's the point? So see, that's a total example of a new customer, a repeat customer. It doesn't really matter. It's really about the decision that they were making.
You're opening up Pandora's box. We won't go there now, but you can be at a restaurant, like to a waitress. I want honey mustard dressing. We don't have that, but there's a Giant right next door. Come on, go.
Well, I mean, if you offer it, if that's one of your offerings, and this company, this
and you don't have it, right,
and you don't have it, so we're really talking about the fact that they offered it, they just didn't have it at the moment. They knew they didn't have it. They were out their inventory. They were out of inventory, so to speak. But they had a way to solve that in a customer-centric fashion. I'm just using it as a fun example. It's not, there are probably other examples out there. Yeah.
Customer experience, customer journey. We talk about it a lot. Buyer's journey optimization. I talk about that, all these different things, the funnel, top to bottom, all these kinds of things all work together depending on how you describe it. Right.
Yes.
But tell me about, the big picture with what you do and these concepts as far as building growth, sales and marketing, and optimizing the pipeline. And do you have any thoughts on this?
Sure. So I'm a very big proponent of Ted Levitt and Phil Kotler, who basically say that the purpose of marketing, if you want to look at it from that way, is to find, keep, and grow the value of customers. So any company that is thinking about long-term sustainable growth has to think in terms of find, keep, and grow. So which customers do you need to find? Which customers do you need to keep? And which customers do you need to grow? And as you're thinking about that, what are going to be your appropriate strategies for that? Right? So in the finding part, your customer journey may be a little bit different because you are focusing more on segmentation, potentially personas, the different kind of messaging. How can we attract these customers, prospective customers? Which ones do we want? How do we attract them? And how do we help them move forward in their buying journey, right? So we can get to a place where we are one of their top considered options, and eventually, hopefully, choose us over alternatives and become a customer. But the keeping side what do you have to do to ensure keeping them? What is in the experience, that stage of the experience, in order to keep them? What are the strategies you're going to put there? And customer effort applies across both of those. And so as does care, all things related to customer experience, right? Now you need to grow some. Well, which ones can you grow? And what does growth look like? Does growth look like growing share of wallet among a particular group of customers, where you are able to get them to buy more of what you have, or more in terms of quantity, or more in terms of product line or offerings? Can you expand your footprint? So let's say you're inside at one SBU inside a company. How do you get into another SBU inside that company? That's footprint expansion. Well, you're probably going to need to have a really good relationship with the first customer in order to get the door open to the second SBU. So experience counts there too. So it doesn't really matter. All three of those are critical to the success of every organization. And that's why it's really a C-suite focus.
Yeah. Well, we're getting near the end here, but these are good thoughts, and really, no matter how you look at it and how you define it, um, it's not. I mean, it's not. I got to be careful of the word, because it's 2023. I don't think we're using rocket science anymore. Really, I don't know. Lately, it's been balloon science, but you know what I mean. But listen. Like we mentioned in the beginning, you get a client, great. It's not over yet. It's just begun.
That's right.
It's just begun.
Exactly.
Because you need them. You need them to, and you don't want to be over salesy, right? Get them involved, have a great onboarding process, make them feel good. I like companies have a separate customer success phone number on their website versus sales, and I mean, things like that, maybe, because it shows that you have a department to help people, right? And that you can use them, respond to your social media. Like, I might go to Twitter all the time and say, hey, what's going on, or whatever, or their Facebook page. They should respond. I mean, that's really part of it, right? Is how good can they respond to people who might have issues, because you want to keep them engaged, right? And that's all part of it. And you know you got to have a whole system with that. And like I said, and I think be strategic with the cross sell, upsell when you're ready. More, because hey, I just bought this. Now you're selling me something else. Like, I guess it's not like the Amazon way. Hey, thanks for buying that thing, but you might want this too, by the way. In fact, they all three of them go together, right? And they know what to do, right? Their algorithms, right? So no, I just want the one thing, but I'll let you know. Let's just see how it goes, right?
Well, I think one of the things you brought up in that, as you were saying that, is everybody in the organization needs to be thinking about the customer. Everybody in the organization doing the right thing by the customer, whatever that might be. And the organization needs to empower their people to do that, so that they're not feeling punished if they do something that's the right thing for the customer, but it might have cost the company a little bit of money. So I'm going to give you another example real quick, and I know we're running out of time. And I'm going to use sort of everyday examples because I think people can relate to them.
Yeah, sure.
And, all right. So we had a couple of years ago a major storm. Not recently, although about our major ice storm just not that long ago. But we had a major storm in the Austin area, and it shut the city down for like 8 to 10 days. It was a big deal. People call it the Snowmageddon, or they have other kinds of names for them. We have a major regional grocery store chain called HEB, and I'm going to use their name because this is a really positive example, and I want people to know about this awesome organization called HEB.
Okay.
And they're everywhere. I mean, they're almost like one on every corner. Okay, that's an exaggeration, but you get the idea. They're everywhere. And in the northern part of our city, a whole bunch of people were in the grocery store trying to get groceries in anticipation of a long shutdown, and the power went out. I mean, the power literally went out in the store. And the store manager got on the PA system or started shouting. I'm not quite sure how it got done, but since the store was, and all their cash registers went down. He said, shoppers, please stop. Whatever is in your cart, come to the doors. Now, they manually opened the doors, and everyone that had a shopping cart, they just said, good luck with the weather. There was no charge, no anything. They didn't want to encourage you to buy more, right? Stuff and put more things in your cart. That wasn't the goal. And they didn't let any more people in. But he made a decision that was the right thing for the customers at that moment. Loyal customers, because H-E-B customers tend to be quite loyal. And he did something that probably cost the company thousands of dollars, right? But he did the thing that was the right thing for the customers. And that is an example of an organization that empowers their people to make the right decision for the customer and not worry about, oh, I'm going to get fired tomorrow because I've let these X number of customers walk out with shopping carts of X, Y, and Z. So that's an example. And my question would be to anyone listening, is that how your company runs?
Right, you're going the extra mile for the sake of the customer versus what's in the textbook.
Right. And that particular event got all kinds of press, unintended, obviously. Word of mouth was great. The store manager did not get fired because it's
right.
not
You get great PR and more.
Right. And I'm telling the story. Right, exactly.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, that's it's company culture, right? Having that culture, and that's part of the analysis of everything here is not just the tactics and the little things, but the big things as well, is the perception and what things you do and how your company reacts to certain things that may need some help.
Yes, exactly. And I think that works whether it's a new customer or an existing customer, right? And if your focus is on the next XYZ days of revenue, then you might make decisions. Obviously, you want to keep your business going, so you might have to make some tough decisions, but you want to make decisions that are not going to shoot you in the foot, down the road because you were short-sighted to do something right now, and you made choices that were not in the best interest of your customer.
Right. Okay. Laura Patterson, this is a great conversation, and it kind of makes you think, and that's the whole idea of these things, right? Whether they're podcasts, streams, whatever it is, it's, we give insights, based on our experiences. I do, you do, trust us. But at the end of the day, think about your own company, right? And just think about your customer-centric solutions. So,
and how hard or easy you are to do business with.
Right. That's for sure. Okay. Well, thanks. We'll talk again to another show at some point soon. In the meantime, VisionEdge Marketing, is an expert on these kinds of things, and it's a good compliment to what I do. So, but thanks for joining.
Thank you for having me. I really enjoyed it. Always good to talk with you, Paul.
You too.
Bye-bye.